Hello and welcome to Dan and Mike Are Fighting, a Small Beans very special presentation in which former Cracked creative head Daniel O'Brien squares off against some guy named Michael Swaim to settle their differences with very little fighting indeed, as it turns out. We hope you enjoy the conversation anyway. We're friends again. Spoiler alert. Let's get ready to fumble for intimacy between two men in a society that doesn't usually condone it.
Are we going? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Well, there's no structure or format.
Sure.
I'm not the host.
This can be.
I don't want to.
Oh, you're not the
it.
host? I thought I'm fine with this living inside any of the podcasts that you have.
Oh, really?
Currently.
Oh,
going.
okay. That seems to be a change from my perception of your perception. Even last time we spoke.
I think I still feel like I won't join the company Small Beans for a variety of reasons that, as time goes on, have less to do with you and more to do with my view of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
But this can certainly exist in any of the podcasts of yours that make sense for it. And then we just talked about we made it a frame rate.
It's a frame rate, right? I don't think we recorded the part, but we talked about movies earlier, so it counts.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to feel too hosty because it's supposed to be a collaborative. The way I'm looking at it, I guess I will talk first, but just for a very little bit.
Sure.
Is I feel like I really respect your writing, and I feel very confident that you respect mine and it's genuine.
Yeah.
I really like collaborating with you. I have considered you a very close friend at certain times, and then recently there's been tension and stress, and things are just really rocky. And I don't want to look at it as a debate or I'm not trying to convince the listeners of whose side or what's going on.
Right.
But more just like examining, so how do we get here? What happened? What is our difference in perception that has caused these things to arise?
A couple things for starters. I'm Daniel O'Brien. It's nice to meet you, listeners. I'm across
Michael
the table
Swaim
from
here.
Michael Swaim. I also brought you a gift type thing.
I thought your bare muscles were the gift.
It's you as a like one of those little Funko toys.
Yeah. Whose desk was this chilling on for a while?
Mine.
Okay.
So the
Thank
person
you
who
so
made
much,
it, her name
man.
is Sarah B. You could find her on Twitter at Powerful Week, and
Wow.
she made all 4 of the After Hours folks, and I got them, and it was the kind of thing that made a whole lot of sense to live on my work desk, and then I was recently laid off.
The work desk
and
is not a thing.
Came home with a bunch of these toys and also a lot of fan art, and I don't. There's nowhere in my home where it makes sense to have this many pictures of me that fans have drawn or painted. So that's already an issue that I'm dealing with. Or where am I going to store these nice things? It's also, there's no place in my home where it makes sense for me to have little toys of you, Katie, Soren, and me. So
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I envied it greatly when I saw it.
Yeah, it was.
All mine are in my closet, by the way, for the same reason. I put them up in the office where I work, and Jen was like, "You're gonna work in a room surrounded by images of you? Like, what's wrong with you?" I was like, "I'll put them all in the closet."
I put a few because Jeff Carpenter did a really nice After Hours painting of us, and a few other artists have done really cool things, and it's a bummer that I only remember the name of one of them. And I put them in my office because no one ever goes there but me.
Sure.
And I don't look at them or interact with them in any way. There's always a chance that someone new will be in my apartment for the first time, and I give them a tour, and I'm just like, oh, right, this is a weird part of my life.
Painting of me, yeah. Okay, we can cut this if you're not allowed to say or whatever.
No.
But I heard, I mean what I'm about to ask, but I
okay.
have to know. I heard, are you going to try and launch After Hours or an After Hours clone anywhere, anyhow?
No, I mean, I don't.
It's in your path.
Yeah, I don't own After Hours. I don't own.
No, but you know what I mean.
Right, like a version
You
of people
could do it.
talking. But,
yeah, and we can cut this because that.
No.
I was talking about let's copyright infringe.
No. There's
and
certainly people have said, is there some version of people talking around a table
or OPCD
that you would do?
or
yeah,
EPCD.
or OPCD.
Are you going to try and revive anything, or are you moving into a totally new phase?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think. I feel like if I was going to try to revive anything, OPCD would probably be the closest thing that I might do, just because it's the easiest thing for me
Yeah.
to do at this point, and I still have all the same thoughts that I had before, and like I would call it something different, but I checked and they don't own the character Daniel O'Brien talking about pop culture.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I could
that's what
do
I'm
that,
getting
but
at.
a lot of, and you might find that I double back on everything that I'm gonna say today in this kind of thing. But
I think
a lot
everyone
of,
at Cracked is figuring their shit out. Yeah.
right. But starting up OPCD again would mean, okay, I'm going to have a YouTube channel and we're going to do these kinds of things.
Exactly.
And
I'm
like,
gonna have a green screen space that I have a
Right.
connection to shoot at regularly, etc.
right. And I am so intimately familiar with the YouTube algorithm at this point and what they favor. And it's not what I want to do artistically, creatively. Like the kinds of things that YouTube likes right now is very much like, we like intimacy, and we want you to upload lots of videos and keep people there. Like all the most popular vloggers are doing things that I don't care for. I intellectually understand that there's a market for it because people are consuming it, but when to be successful on YouTube means fitting their algorithm, and fitting their algorithm means frequency and intimacy, I just think, okay, well then this isn't the platform for me. And also, even if it was right now, even if YouTube said, we changed our algorithm, now the best thing you could do is 11-minute, well-researched and written observations about pop culture that you publish whenever you
and
feel
we'll really
like it.
support those.
Even if that was the new algorithm, I would still be like, well, no, because I don't want to be at the mercy of your algorithm when you change it. Like, we're living in the middle of a digital media content bubble bursting right now, because of companies like YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, I agree.
Deciding who gets to be seen right now.
Right,
and, even gaming one of those systems is not a good career plan, because who the fuck runs YouTube? They could change it tomorrow and then...
Right, exactly, yeah. It's very fickle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could make fun of a dead Japanese person and
right
completely it's crazy that there's so little vetting of who becomes a celebrity on YouTube, that just all this anything can happen. I mean, I guess our real celebrities are terrible too, but
right
like they don't even have PR savvy.
Yeah,
the YouTube stars, just you watch them drop like flies because they don't know how to handle themselves in public.
Yeah, and it's there's how many times have I watched some bleach blonde white idiot look into camera and be like, yeah, the problem is I have $17 million and I'm 21 years old, and sometimes I say Nazi things because I didn't learn that that's not funny yet.
I'm going to donate 1/17 of that to anti-Nazi things.
Right.
All right, we're not fighting enough. So
no, yeah.
I'm going to say, because I know you and me, we could easily carry on a surface friendship that's highly satisfying because we talk about pop culture and we love to talk about pop culture. But what? There's some issue, right?
Yeah,
you have an issue with me. Explain it to me.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it is tied to the old place and the amount that I had invested in that place and that job and how much of my identity it was. And I would say a huge part of the reason that there's a rift between us is 10,000% my Irish Catholic inability to communicate when I'm upset about something. So if I'm mad about something,
right,
I just let it be like cancer inside of me for years, and then one day I'll write you a very mean email where it just seems like this has got to be coming out of nowhere. How did Dan get so mad after this one thing? When it wasn't one thing, it was a series of things that I didn't talk about or process or deal with.
Well, if we're copying this stuff, I'm really grateful in retrospect that you checked me about that one tweet that you took issue with.
Right.
And you can, we can lay, I don't remember the exact wording, but I was just bemoaning how broke I was going to be, which was insensitive to do on the day everyone was laid off. I did also reach out to a lot of people that day with condolences, but yeah, I posted an insensitive tweet that was like, damn, I quit 5 weeks ago, so I don't even get unemployment, which is accurate, but it's not. I should have, obviously, a thing to keep to myself. So I appreciate being checked on that. It did come out of nowhere a little, and my gut reaction was that it must have had something to do with how reclusive I've been, and just like, and I mean that even if it's not like Dan's mad because I've not been around, which I think is part of it, maybe. Is it?
That was certainly part of it, yeah.
But it's also, I was like, Well, I haven't checked in with Dan as a friend in so long. Who knows what? I don't know what your perception of our relationship is, and I don't know what you think mine is because I basically, when I was drinking, I just stayed home as much as humanly possible while still completing the minimal amount of work required from me.
Right.
And it's true that, and I feel I could have, and I should have had empathy enough to realize that that was a strain on you as the person at the top of at least the creative team, like holding all the weight. At the same time, I was not aware of that. So I wasn't intentionally letting you down for the last 3 years.
No.
And then when you said, man, I'm really pissed about how you haven't been here, I was like, oh, that makes sense. But I was not thinking about that at all.
Right,
so it was
because
still a surprise.
At no point did I ever say to you, hey, this relationship, because there are two parts here. There's the work relationship and there's the relationship. And at no point did I say, hey, you're going to lose me.
Right.
And I feel like if I did, we would have had that conversation. Not into microphones many years ago. But it wasn't in my nature to have conversations like that because I am just like a weird repressed maniac in that way. And there's the work part where you, in the last like 4 or 5 years, you've taken on a series of roles with decreased responsibility.
A waning role.
Yeah. And you were overseeing creative on video at one point and then stepped down from that because you wisely acknowledged the stress and horribleness of how that position was for you.
Which is why it kind of surprised me that you thought I would be there more for backup. The overarching thing I'm getting at the risk of, and I don't do it to push your buttons, because I think you probably suspect or know explicitly I am less invested in the old place, which is a good name,
right,
than you are or were. I don't know where you're at right now, or are legally obliged to not discuss. But like my point is, for the last 4 years, you were just describing how YouTube doesn't interest you. That's how I felt about Cracked for the last 4 years. And I didn't feel that way about you or any of my coworkers at my level. I guess I'm allowed to say this. I felt like when that email hit, the thing that surprised me or hurt my feelings was I had thought it was all of us, the people at Cracked, versus Cracked, the soulless evil corporate entity. And then I felt like you were siding with an abstract corporate entity over our relationship.
I wasn't. I mean, I'm always a company man at heart. So if I'm doing a job, then I love it and I swear by it, and I feel tremendous loyalty when I'm in a thing. I don't feel like I would say take the side of a company over a person, but I very much at the professional betrayal sense that I got came from feeling like in the beginning it was us against everyone on the planet. Like this is very, very early days where we're a couple of kids screwing around and figuring stuff out as we go, and also sharing the weird burden for a while of being the two recognizable people. So you had the dual responsibilities of whatever our jobs were, plus this weird weight of being the face of this thing. And it was a thing that we signed up for, so it was fine, but it was still like, Michael is the other guy in the world who understands most of what I've gone through at this place, and will be a consigliere and confidant, and like a person that I can commiserate with, and a fourth big C word.
Uh-oh.
No, not
no,
I see where that went, but no. And I think with the benefit of time, it's become clearer to me now that you just realized earlier than I did. I mean, I didn't realize I was laid off, but you landed on this idea earlier that like this is a company and I'm gonna do work for them and I'm gonna get money from them, and it's not gonna be my life. And
although I'm incredibly loyal to the actual human beings.
Yes.
I just feel like it's inevitable. It became clear to me after a certain point that I don't know what to say, because
no.
in my opinion, like that stressful job was almost criminally abusive for a corporation to like, and I still think they're in breach of law by making Alex edit his own podcast.
Jesus Christ.
But my point being, The site did not fail. Like, we made good I feel like everyone did pull their weight. The site failed because it was designed to fail and is like being wound down for corporate reasons, which is fucking bullshit. And I just think it's criminal that like you would be given a job where you're so stressed out you'd eventually go blind in one eye temporarily. And I think that there are people to blame, and it's not the people who didn't help support you through that. It's the people who made that job exist in the first place, is I guess how I thought of it.
I also will.
But at the same time, I just want to say, I do wish I could turn back time and you would have come to me, because I would have stepped up. I had very little motivation to do anything of my own volition. But the times that my friends came to me and asked stuff, I did those things. So
which is a problem of mine with communication and reaching out that I'm working on. But certainly to boil two things down, our listeners need to understand how tied up with this job I was and how everything is sort of intertwined, because I moved here with 0 friends and 0 contacts and
for this job
and you were the first person that I saw when I came out here, because you were also working there at the time. And we have since either hired all of our friends or became friends with the people that we hired. So it was really, and it was the entirety of my 20s. So it was like so much of my life and identity wrapped up in it. So if that isn't your experience, people who are listening, which I understand it's a rare experience, it might seem insane that emotional conversations about friendship responsibilities seem to blurrily mesh with work conversations. Like, I just want to explain. Like,
also in our industry, it's like, I don't know, we're storytellers, and I know I'm aggrandizing, like making dick and fart jokes, but at its core, we're interested in like examining people, putting characters together, figuring out their emotions. So it all blurs together. Like, it's way less, obviously, Cracked making videos. Cracked was not as professional as working at an accountancy firm. Like, that line is blurred between your personal lives. Yeah. Especially when every fucking character is named Michael Swaim and Dan O'Brien, and is like different exaggerations of different aspects of our actual personalities.
When really the closest thing to our personalities was probably Welcome Back, Potter, I would say. That's the clearest analog. But professionally, I keep saying to boil this down to see if there's a simple way, but I very much thought of us as partners in the beginning of this thing, and as you took an increasingly diminished role and was just not around the office very much, and I felt like you weren't sharing the responsibilities, which is, in retrospect, totally fine, and your decision to make, and it's okay, but I just felt like, oh gosh, I lost my professional partner in this, and that's difficult. And one of the negotiations you made at one point was you didn't want to write original stuff for us anymore, and I was like, yeah, it's the most gifted writer that I have, and I'm trying to make this enterprise work, and the most gifted writer that I have is like, yeah, I'm not gonna share this with you anymore, which your choice and a smart choice.
It is my choice, but really, if I had enough courage, I should have just quit at that point, because that was already me saying, I am voting and betting on this company, this enterprise is failing soon.
Right.
Like, I don't, and not because of anything you could do or control possibly.
Right.
So I was like, and I should have like, well, it just is also a side effect, again, of just not having regular contact.
Right.
Because I would have been bitching about that to you and explained that to you along the way, and I just didn't. Because I had orchestrated to work from home and not write.
Yeah.
And just appear in the things I appear in. And what else did I do? Podcasts. That's right.
Yeah. And I would get very callous when you were still there but not doing video stuff, because I just thought if he did quit, because I also wish you would have quit then too, because I think you would have been happier, or I would have been happier faster,
and I would have eased the burden on the team if that could have helped in the interim. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And
at the time, I was managerially callous enough where it's like, it's not the biggest help for me if we've got a guy on salary who is editing and doing podcast stuff and appearing in videos once every quarter. I would love to have that salary for a full-time video writer, someone
Right.
that I can give me another Cody, give me another Carmen, but I don't
Give me another
have
Michael
access
from
to that
8
right
years
now.
ago.
So, or Michael from 8 years ago. So professionally, it was very much like, this is a real burden for me. And I think just on, I let that fester into friendship as well. And I also, things that I'm sure now are related to drinking, I was just finding you less available as a friend. I believe
Yeah.
that if I'd picked up the phone and said, let's talk, you would have done that. But I felt like I had sent too many texts that you were like, no, I can't come out tonight. Or no,
Okay.
I can't make this birthday. I can't do this thing. And it was like, if he wants to hang out, he can say something.
This is
at
kind of a
point.
tangent, but
No.
you guys did kick me out of the band. I thought that was a calculated move to say that I was not liked as much. I mean, I took it very
No.
personally.
Oh no, I liked you very much.
That
It
was
just
the way we
like
saw
that
each
was-
other on a weekly basis.
That's true.
Then I tried to do D&D to see you on a weekly basis. That doesn't fly with you. That's okay. It's not
do not
everyone's
like
thing.
D&D. We're recording this in a comic book shop.
But that is
I do
that's
not
the only
like
way
it.
I see Soren. But
Right.
it's nice that that's there as an anchor. I still do see him sometimes. And all I can say is, yeah, that's all on me. Being an alcoholic is not a get out of jail free card. And I am seeing everyone more often. I haven't been seeing you more often because
Right.
we're worried about how each other feel about each other. But if you're interested in hanging out more often, I would love to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what happened was I just felt like the burden to hang out wasn't on me anymore.
Yeah, it's
And,
on me, yeah.
You very wisely were like, well, I'm not going to invite him to D&D because he hates it.
Yeah.
He ruins it when he shows up.
In a
And-
delightful way, but still. Are you going to do the Gamefully Unemployed D&D just for entertainment value? or-
No.
No, okay.
I'm
it's
really
over.
not. I Gamefully Unemployed, for a plug, that's Tom Ryman and David Bell's
Mhm.
enterprise. It's a Twitch channel where they, I believe, they're trying to do podcasts as well.
They have one
Patreon
podcast
going.
on the Unpopular Opinion Network called
Yes.
Best
Bad Movie, yeah.
Ever.
And they play board games and video games on Twitch.
And D&D.
And D&D.
You'll see Star, you see Maggie May,
Yeah.
Christian Ramirez, a lot of crack
Yeah,
people.
I did it last week.
I saw you do it once, yeah.
I enjoy board games, but I'm
They're
a
fun.
very selfish board game person where they've been doing this show for weeks. I was like, I'm going to show up 2 hours late with the game that I want to play, and we're going to play it, and then we're going to leave.
That's
And
what
we
I did
that.
the second time I brought Smash up, and I'm like, I'm bringing the game I want to play, and that's what we're playing, or I'm
Yeah.
not coming.
But everyone should check that out. I don't think I'll be doing their D&D campaign
Sure.
because that's another
it's
thing that
D&D.
I feel like this podcast can just be also our thoughts about industry and what everyone is doing stuff. And I see that Twitch is successful. I see that there are a bunch of 20-year-old millionaires doing it somehow, and this might end up being my folly, my downfall.
That's an
But
ugly part.
I don't like it. I don't want to do
But
it.
it's just, I didn't buy bitcoins. It's too late now. What am I? I have to just let that go. You know, there's people becoming millionaires in ways I could never imagine would have worked all the
Right.
time.
And not even just wouldn't imagine, but it's also just like we talked about this briefly in the Gamefully Unemployed that I did, that Star had mentioned that the people who are doing it really well are the people who are just doing Patreons that are offering more access to the audience. That's a model that seems to work. It's just very personality driven.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. And this is why I say it's gonna be my folly, because someone is saying, here are some models that work. You're looking around at the internet, you're drowning, wondering what are the business models that work, and I'm showing it to you, and I'm still saying, yeah, but I don't want to do that. I didn't I think we share this. The least favorite part of what has been at certain times an amazing job has been being recognized by people out in the world and,
Yeah.
and being a face that people saw. That is a thing that maybe you were more excited about that because you have more of an acting background than I do, but it's the reason that I
I hate
stopped
it.
acting was
Yeah.
because I started getting panic attacks backstage after a show, because it was like, oh no, there's gonna be people out there, and I'm so nervous to see them and talk to them and
After the Cracked
let them
finale
down.
show, I
Yeah.
bolted. I wanted to see all the Cracked people, but I was like, there's going to be a large amount of very emotional fans who I am grateful for but don't want
Yes.
to talk to. Yeah.
Right. That's the other thing is we're incredibly grateful, but to spin it back to this model where it's just like, yeah, this person has a lot of success because they post a 10-minute video every day where they just talk to you and like you get to know a little bit about their lives. It's like I've been so very careful about how much of myself I've put on the internet, and that's by design. And for all the people who are now saying like, just do your own YouTube channel, it's like, no, I'm looking at an opportunity where I can disappear from all of this,
craft
these
a
people
narrative
like, yeah.
unrelated to myself,
Right.
that I put in the world. Well, I will just say for the record, especially for people who've been listening to Tales from the Pit on Small Beans channel, I
listened to the Katie Stoll one. Did you throw up before
nice.
this podcast?
Before this podcast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
I threw up this morning, yeah.
That's so wacky.
I'm
man.
on Zofran and beta blockers right now to keep the shakes and the nausea down.
Crazy. All right, go on.
But
Sorry.
it's going much better than I anticipated. What the fuck was I talking about?
Yeah,
I'm looking at Lego
like,
Batman
For
now.
anyone who's listened to Tales from the Pit. Yeah.
I'm not doing that to comport to. I've always wanted to do that, and I've always been that kind of artist. I don't think I fit the cracked mold. It overlaps with what I do, but it's not like if left to my own devices what I would normally do, where I think as you overlap even more, you pioneered the voice a little more, so there's more Daniel in it anyway. I am a very autobiography, sherry, personal type of artist as well as being a joke machine. So I just want listeners to know that I'm not like callously doing that because that's what the algorithm wants. I'm really, and also you alluded to something which I think is very real, which is like, for me, all the hunger to do art had gone because of the type of art I had done ad nauseum and felt that I had to continue doing. But my hunger to like create things has not gone out at all. And I bet, like, are you, towards the end of Cracked, were you just as inspired to create Cracked content? That's what I want to know. Or did the spark die for you at all? Because it died for me, and I don't know if it's just my depression or that...
Yeah.
Or that, like, there's a time limit on how long you can do one creative thing before you have to do something else.
Right. I mean, there are a couple of parts to that. One, you've said the end of, and it has failed now, and it's I feel
Unfair.
that I need to say that there are wonderful people: Alex Schmidt, Christy Harrison, Robert Brockway, Ann Smiley, David Wong, Jason Pargin, Simon Gia, Jeff Hernandez, who are still...
Oh, Simon's still there. That's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I didn't know that. Cool.
They're still working probably harder than they've ever had to work before
Right.
to keep the idea of that place going. And it's just necessary
Yeah, it
for
needs
me
to
to
be
say
mentioned,
that.
of
As
course.
someone who has been there when we laid off people that I deemed to be essential, and like I remember what it's like to wake up the day after a layoff and be like, how the fuck am I supposed to keep this site going now? So I know and that's a fraction of what they're going through now.
Yeah.
So shout out to those people at the old place.
And John Cheese, new editor-in-chief of Modern Rogue.
Sure. And but the other thing that I wanted to touch upon, because you asked if my creative spark had dimmed toward the end there. That's a difficult question to answer because I feel like towards the end of my time there, so much of my job was about trying to figure out ways to keep it going.
Just survivability.
Like, because our channel was doing well, but it was clear that like things on the internet are bad right now. I would do an entire podcast about the economics of the internet and how it's a bubble bursting that will affect literally everyone who consumes content on the internet, but literally no one except people who are in this industry know that it's happening and can see it coming. And it's a really weird thing that like different and worse than everyone's fears with net neutrality that is going to be affecting everyone.
You think it's worse
very soon.
than net neutrality?
I think, or not worse, but it might be like it's leading us towards the future that all of the net neutrality Chicken Littles were warning about, where it's like they're gonna charge you for everything, and you're gonna have to bundle these things like you bundled cable companies, and you're gonna have to pay this much for Facebook and Crackle and
it's like
Funny
you
or
don't
Die
need
and
net
this
neutrality. That's what YouTube
No.
Red already is. That's where everything's going.
That's where everything's
anyway.
moving,
Yeah.
and like the internet.
Netflix raising their prices this week.
Right. The internet invented a thing where you as a user get premium content for free as far as you're concerned, and it's because of ads. And then you blocked all the ads, and then Chrome released an extension that automatically blocks ads. And then you turned off sites because you felt like their article titles were too clickbaity, or you didn't like being hassled when they were asking for contributions. Well, guess what? Funny or Die laid off 100 people last week.
Right. Then they charge you. This goes back to the beginning of content. No one's thought of a better way to finance storytelling than either commercial breaks or you pay for it up front. What else can you do?
And I know you were mad that like an ad auto-played and there was sound, but we're just trying to make you not have to pay for it. That's all the goal was. There used to be, if you read a magazine, there would be like a full-page ad, and you had to physically turn it with your hand. We were just trying to do that again to keep.
And
the
you're
lights
against
on.
an army of like, I gotta say, the ad technicians treated it like a war to like break your rules. Like you'd have these package deals where you're like, everything's fine, advertise anything within reasonable limits, just don't have autoplay sound. And they're always like, I sense a challenge. I can sneak autoplay sound into your page. And there would be, from talking to Manny and Simon, like, it's almost impossible to root that out. Or like you can root it out and they can add more as fast as you can root it out. Yeah.
But this isn't a podcast about
this is like defending how people bitch so much about the ads.
But yeah, so much of my job towards the end was keeping things going and trying to keep people happy as best as I could, and also dealing with, our editor-in-chief stepped down, and for the Daily Zeitgeist and How Stuff Works, everyone check out those podcasts. Soren left for American Dad, check that out. He was, A, my best friend, and B, like a tremendous ally to have there, and another one of the old heads who could help rally people if things seemed glum.
And write a fucking Cracker Jack script if you need one.
Yep, with his fucking eyes closed. Yep. And then you left, which wasn't, like, workload-wise, wasn't tremendous.
Because I'd been tapering off.
Right. It wasn't a tremendous blow for my day-to-day, but it was for all the people who, the day after Soren was gone, are like, is everything okay? Are we in trouble? What's going on? I was like, everything's fine. Don't worry. The ship is definitely floating. And then Michael's gone. I'm like, okay, that has added another thing that I need to do now.
Morale-wise.
Right. I didn't get to do as much creative stuff towards the end, but I still got very excited about it. It's hard for me not to be excited about whatever it is that I've agreed to be doing.
Sure.
And I wasn't a prisoner there. I was choosing to be there.
Right.
And so I was going to find ways to make it silly and fun for myself. And the last
good attribute.
OPCD that we shot that didn't air, they're like written into the script is me saying I have so much fun doing this show because that was a feeling that I had while I was writing the episode, and I made a joke that I liked, and I was like, this is fun. I should say that it's fun. And no one
Lost Forever. Is the After Hours finale Lost Forever?
We can. I don't want to
All right.
drive the audience crazy. We can talk about that off mic.
Okay.
Because I did want to talk to you about that.
Sure. Well, I guess what I'm wondering then is, are you, now that some time has passed, are you still in a dormant phase of like figuring yourself out, chilling, cutting yourself slack, de-stressing? Or do you have a great hunger? Because you already said, like, I assume when you say you're over this industry, you don't mean creativity.
No.
Do you know what's next for Dan O'Brien in an urge sense? Or are you like, I don't need to figure that out so fast, I'm waiting a minute? Okay.
Right. I'm waiting, but this is a
obviously
this
you got
is like
books under your belt. You
I
could
feel
go
like
back to books.
my first real experience with depression in my life was after this, because it was, and there were a number of things that happened completely unrelated to the layoffs that all happened within the same week of the layoffs that are personal and don't belong on a podcast. That was just like hit after hit of things that really made me question any time I've ever in the past said, I think I'm depressed. I'm like, no, you were just hungry, you fucking idiot. This is depression. This is like depression, and my therapist pinpoints it at grief, which is a thing that I'm just like, I'm very frustrated to be feeling right now.
Yeah.
But I understand that I need to give it space and let it be.
You got to grieve the
what I'm
end of
feeling.
an era.
Yeah.
Even I, who quit because I wanted out. I'm still grieving the end of an era. It was my whole 20s too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a decade, and like even if it was not a thing that was tied to my name and my face and had me publicly out there, and it was a thing that I loved, even if it was a plant that I'd worked at for 10 years, like it's still very difficult for me not to have somewhere to go in the morning. And I've been lucky that they've been, these last week and a half, they've been jackhammering directly outside of my
helps you
apartment.
get up at a normal
like,
schedule.
Like I go and I leave because it's too loud to
Gets
be
you out
there.
of the house.
But the question was, what am I working on next? And that's a like.
Or when you say like, I know that I don't want to be this autobiographical YouTube star. Is there something in your head that's like, but you know what I would really like to get into?
No, I mean the easiest thing have been saying, no, I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to, and this is not a knock on anyone who is doing anything. It's just different tastes. I don't want to. All the well-meaning people who said, just do some version of OPCD and just do EPCD as like a podcast.
Which
just
OPCD you just said you have so much fun doing.
I did have so much fun doing, but I'm not immediately interested in doing exactly what I did before right now. Yeah. And I hate if that lets fans down, but I would caution them to remember that they didn't know they wanted OPCD until I made it. So just trust me that you'll like the next thing that I make too.
A true fan should want to see what you want to make.
Right.
And then if they decide we've drifted apart, I don't think you're funny anymore, that's fine. That's part of the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is not immediately knowing what I want to make right now, which is where my brain feels like it's at odds with myself.
But it's like that will come in time.
Yeah. I just want it to happen now because they're like I'm
It's
freelancing places with my name not on it, just so
Gotcha.
I have income coming in and I feel like I have something to do. But when those get written, it's very much in like I can write right this second, so I'm going to cancel plans and do it. And
ape the style of this magazine or blog or whatever and send it out and get some money coming in. Yeah.
And I never used to be so much of a slave to when my brain was saying we can write now. I'm very respectful of people who have different methods than me, who do whatever they need to do to get into some kind of creative place. I was just never that. I was always workhorse man, where I'm just like, oh, whenever anyone was like, how do you deal with writer's block? I don't get that. I get paid to write, so I do it, and I have deadlines, and that's what the money's for. And like, no one asked my dad when he worked at Amtrak, what if you don't feel like working at Amtrak today? Like, no, you go in and you do it.
With me is there will be days where I procrastinate, but the deadline is why you don't have writer's block.
Right.
'Cause you have to finish the thing. If you wake up and it's due in 8 hours, you do it right then.
Right.
Your writer's block goes away real quick.
Yeah, they're expecting you to do that.
Yeah. I also like Dan Harmon had good advice, which was, if you think you have writer's block, just intentionally write the worst piece of garbage that's like a Mad Lib, humorously bad.
Yeah.
2 paragraphs in, you'll just be writing. Like,
Right.
It's an illusion. You're just stopping yourself from wanting to work.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's normal. It's like if you had the train job, it's just saying, I don't want to do it today. Right. Everyone has to get over that.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the scary place where very supportive and well-meaning and in some places very well-connected people are like, I'm sorry I got laid off, but this is good news for us. We want the next thing. What's the next thing? And for a solid week, the next thing was, it's a sitcom about a guy who got laid off and he's really sad. And it could also be a book or a movie.
Whatever
and like,
you need, yeah.
Just pay me for a year.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll write it one day. And the other thing that I wanted immediately after the layoff, like, oh, what do you want to do next? I want a job that pays me exactly the same that the old job paid me and gives me benefits and is in the same building and nothing about my life has to change.
Yeah.
So it takes, I want to answer all those questions for you and for the audience and for any of the people who are offering opportunities, but I need my brain to work and it's not right now. So I'm doing everything I know to trick myself into working creatively, and some days it's just not. And like therapists and very healthy people will say, yeah, maybe it's just not today. And I'm like, nah, I get that, but I need it to be today. I need to wake up tomorrow and know that I'm going to put in 8 hours of creative work, whether that's I'm going to write this pilot, I'm going to write this book proposal. I'm going to pitch.
But you have confidence the
thing.
opportunities will be there when you have the
Unless I let them
motivation.
wither on the vine.
Because I got to say, at the risk of being too personal, and this is maybe just because I'm prone to depression, but I feel that, and I still am glad I got out of Cracked because not drinking is such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that I'm done in this business, probably.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean this business?
Entertaining people for money because, or with my writing, because Cracked's the only job offer I've ever gotten. Still, since the layoff, I've gotten no job offers. I won't pick your brain in detail because it's impolite, but like, I don't know how you're getting side work. I don't know how one gets side work. I've never gotten a manager or agent, and I just don't know. And that's the big thing, the weight I'm struggling with lately is I feel that I'm doing small beans for the same reason I ended up writing plays in college, because no one will give me a job. I have to just do my own thing alone.
Right.
Because no one wants what I'm selling to a degree that guarantees livelihood. And I'm kind of grappling with like, do I need to give up and move out of this town and do something else? Because I want to have kids soon.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what I mean by that. I just have to be honest about it. Is like, dude, I'm terrified. And
No, it could be
I
terrible.
can't imagine that I'll ever work again at anywhere as big as Cracked.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
it's not lack of faith in like your talent or my talent.
No.
It's just having been in the town for 10 years and being like, man, there's a lot of not just luck, but there is a lot of luck, and it's crazy big deal when someone makes it through the barrier.
I sound like I'm meeting it with a lot of positivity right now, probably because it's been almost 2 months and I've thought of nothing else but this, and like nothing else but like working on myself to get my brain working.
So
I don't know how
I've despaired about it
how
already.
crazy it sounds to people when I say that I can't get my brain to work, if that like scans for anyone as a thing. But like we're in a business where my entire ability to work and make income is dependent on this one muscle working correctly.
It's it's a trick your brain does without it does it automatically.
Yes.
So when it stops doing it, you're like,
when
what
it
do
stops,
you do?
it's like I can't like just start spinning wheels with my feet and be like, "Don't worry, I'm doing this part of my job now."
Right.
Like, I don't like it's. I just need my brain to like, here's a good idea for a sitcom that should be made right now.
Yeah.
And my brain's not doing it, so it's frustrating. But yeah, I agree that it is scary out there. I mean, I comfort myself by reminding me that the jobs that you and I didn't exist when we were kids or in college. Right. Neither of us studied because we wanted to be forward-facing internet personalities who were writing.
No, I wanted to be in the Royal Shakespeare Company,
right?
Like a tool.
And we stumbled into this thing, and it probably seems very tempting to like, all right, I want to. What's the next comedy website that I can jump to right now, or what's the next online venture? It's like, I don't know, and I don't want to throw this out like I've given it tremendous amount of thought, but I was also very interested in politics when I was in college and studying comedy, and I don't want to.
Like, you don't want to just give in to the instinct of, like, I've been doing this for 10 years, I better keep going.
Right, yeah. I have to remember that this job didn't used to exist, and it's not like my dream was to be on SNL, and then I got it, and then they laid me off, and I had nothing else to
plan.
Like my heart was broken. Even though I know people who've that's happened to them, and they've come out the other side. Almost everyone who's been fired from SNL has had a better post-career, I think. But yeah, politics, like there's a version of the future where I go back on all of this and I am just doing website stuff. There's a version of the future where I take a politician that I really like and I really think could be president, and I find out how I can help them and write for them and do something in that field.
I thought you were saying you'll be the new Al Franken, minus some aspect. But like, I was looking for Senator O'Brien here.
No,
damn it, the trains will run on time. My family cares deeply about train scheduling.
We come from train money,
It's
and that is the only issue that I'm running on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's also a chance that I run out of money very quickly and fail spectacularly and move in with my parents in a town where there was no industry whatsoever.
Yep.
And
I'm looking at
Then something else
possibly
will happen.
moving back to my parents' place in Crestline, California.
Ooh.
Just east of San Bernardino.
Okay.
I could still technically take meetings. It's just a 2.5-hour drive to the meeting. So we'll see. But zero rent, floor to myself, spa.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Spa.
nice.
Damn.
A spa, you should come up there actually.
Okay.
I've had Adam up. I haven't had Abe up. They got a 3-story cabin in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a deck out back with a spa under the trees. It's beautiful.
And have you thought about just doing like, is that their main house where they live all the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you thought about doing like a sabbatical there where you just
Yeah, I already
spend
did
like
with Adam.
like a week?
Adam
Oh,
and I
okay.
spent 5 days there working on a screenplay. That's what I'm saying we should do if
right.
you're interested.
Oh,
but I
yeah.
don't want to rush things.
No. I mean, it's I bring up with Cody every once in a while because he's going through all of the same stuff that I'm going through.
And he's,
where,
believe it or not, less communicative than you.
yeah.
I keep checking in with Cody, and I love you, Cody. I hope you're okay. I just don't
Yeah.
know. He'll just generally say, like, yeah, fine.
Yeah. I think he's also very much in the same boat as me, where we both have clarity
He
that
is the
like
boat.
he is the boat. We're both in Cody. He has clarity that like we didn't set out to do website stuff, and
Right.
he might go like full into music right now.
I was going to say that means there's so many options that you kind of need some time then.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I could do anything now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the
You kind of have to do something.
the worst thing to say to me
Right.
as a creative person and like as a worker in general. I have been good at every job I've ever done, and that's because there are rules to the job and you follow them. And anytime anyone is like, "What's the next idea?" I want to just be like, "What do you want?" And I'll make it real great. I'll
Yeah.
just like tell me that thing, and I'll do that because I need
Yeah.
guidance. I need
I
direction
heavily,
right now.
it was kind of a toss up whether I was going to do small beans or go to film school. Or,
Oh, really?
Or some kind of grad school. Because then you have loans. So it's like the money situation's fucked to the point where you stop thinking about it.
Right.
And school's the other thing that I'm good at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there more to air?
I don't know. I
prepared,
like talking to you.
I like talking to you. I prepared 3 hours for us
Okay.
if we need it.
I think
we could record some frame rates if you want to talk.
I can apologize for being angry with you the day of the layoffs, and I think with 24 hours I wouldn't have said anything, but maybe that's probably good because it got us talking. But that was a day that was very difficult for me that I tried to meet with at least public-facing positivity. I went on Twitter.com and offered pep talks to anyone who said they were having a hard time, like anyone who needed something reassuring.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the 2 things that I did after the layoffs were I'm going to set up a comedy show with everyone who was laid off because I want to make something fun out of something that felt tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was I'm going to spend this night. I could very easily be drunk and wallow in how sad I am, or I could be on Twitter making other people feel better. So let me do that because then it'll make me feel better.
Right.
Life hack, helping people makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And I, despite doing those things, people who know me the best recognize that as like, Dan's having a really hard time right now, which
Yeah.
I was. And like Soren was reaching out, was like, I'm here if you need to talk. I'm sure you don't want to get on the phone, but I see you being nice on Twitter and I
Yeah.
know what that means. And, but I kept doing that and kept like trying to see positivity in things and trying to see a lesson in things. If it's not clear from any of this already, I'm a pretty religious person, so I'm always looking for lessons in things and sense out of things. And despite everything that I was feeling and trying to put out there, I was also seeing a thing that I thought was so ugly, that drove me so crazy, that there was 25 people that were laid off that day, and it was like kind of very loosely announced.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of freelance writers from the old place who weren't laid off, whose day-to-day was not going to change. And I saw them taking advantage of all the kind strangers on the internet, on Twitter, who were like, people who were just like, man, I can't believe they got rid of XYZ. And like, well, they didn't really get rid of Z. Z was never was never on staff, and Z is not feeling any of these consequences.
Oh, right.
But
Like
then I
they are
see-
just a frequent contributor who
Yeah.
got several articles posted.
And I see
Right.
person Z who was like, "Thanks, I really appreciate that.
It's
Here's where
changed
you
my
can buy my
life,
book."
And now you can buy my
And
book, sure.
Other people who were like, "Hey, anyone who got laid off, let me know. Like, I'm looking to hire
Right.
people." And none of us were clear enough that day to know how to take advantage of any of those situations, to seize on those opportunities. Like, my brain was not working. The most I did was like write down a few notes, like, remember this name. This person on Twitter said that they would try to help you out. Remember this name.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy to talk to anyone right now, but I'm seeing these people who were not affected by these layoffs taking advantage, and they're like, "Hey, I'm one of the writers.
Right.
Look to me for your opportunities."
Even just
And
for sympathy likes, like just click
sympathy
this.
likes,
Yeah,
and
whatever I want.
also like
if they have any project,
like trying to
plug.
get like
right.
job opportunities off
Right.
this, and like, you're the ones who you can do this right now because you're not heartbroken right now, and that feels like such an ugly thing to do when there are people who are reeling from this. That is not what I think you did.
But I can see why it must have hurt so much to compare hearts and feel that I was not heartbroken. But
Right.
it's because I had begun the grieving process earlier. That's all. I just
Right.
wanted to, like, I felt the same amount of grief, but it was parceled out at a different time. So really, to me, when that came along, we had the Small Bean site ready to go. And there were two thoughts in my mind, because it did obviously occurred to me that it's like, I don't want to be seen as which part of you saw it as.
Right.
And I hope I've been able to explain to your satisfaction that it really wasn't that. I don't want to be seen as like trying to capitalize on this. At the same time, I'm like, but we have a site ready to go because we were planning to launch
Yeah.
it anyway. No one else does. If people are going to open their wallets to Crack People now, why would we launch tomorrow?
Yeah.
And that money ideally will go towards forming a new
Right.
community, and we're already paying some of our mutual friends to do some stuff. Bridget Greenberg's going to have a show on there. We're excited about
Really?
that. Yeah.
We go to the same gym.
And Christian Ramirez. So yeah, I guess like I felt like I was trying to rapidly form a new community, however large it could be. And you felt like I was doing that, but it's
Right,
weird. I can see so easily why the motives would be suspect, and yet I'm here to tell you that like it wasn't that. It was
I think-
this.
I think it can be that, and also not be nefarious. I think
Okay.
you were trying to capitalize on it, which is the absolute smartest, right thing to do. Not trying to capitalize on anyone's sadness, but like, this is the best opportunity to launch this thing.
Right.
And anyone who knew anything about business
Strategy, right, yeah.
would tell you that.
Yeah.
I was upset because it was a combination of having a bad day, seeing really people I won't name very grossly taking advantage of the situation in a way that like I will never forget. And then you, who was
I don't care how
buddy of
much
mine-
you know about history, guy we're not naming. Fuck
but
that guy.
because we were, I had already kind of had issues with you, and I'd already felt, abandoned and betrayed sounds too dramatic at this point. I was just like pissed at you, and then saw
but that's
like,
how we feel. Like,
here's
I
the
don't
new
know.
home for all the people.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to support all the people who were let go today, here's where to do it. And I thought, I don't know if that's gonna support me. Like, I don't know what I want to do yet, and I don't know how I feel about this place emerging as the de facto home for all who have been removed. But also, I was like cranky and pissed and had pent up stuff
Yeah.
with you that I hadn't dealt with
Yeah.
yet, and I snapped at you in an email.
And here we
I
are.
apologize.
At least the people got good content out of it. Man, I apologize for the 3 preceding years. You said 4. I'm going to call it a 3.
Is it 3? Okay.
That first year was your fault. But yeah, I just want everyone that from Crack that I love so much to do what they want to do. So
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, we'll be plugging it. And yeah. Maybe this will run in. I don't know what feed this will run. This will probably be a bonus super special episode.
Okay. What are the feeds? You have Tales from the Pit.
We have Tales from the Pit, which is interviews with people about depression with a little poetic monologue from me up top. We got Extra Extra, which is a weekly news joke show which I was pushing so hard at Cracked for so long.
I haven't listened to that one yet.
We got, it's, my 1920s
Sure.
pimp character doing Daily Show jokes.
Right.
And then Frame Rate and one-ups and shit,
Yeah.
video games and movies.
I listened to the Frame Rate about Last Jedi, and so thoroughly agreed with you guys about it being a bad movie, but just for different reasons. I was like,
Different set
wow.
of other reasons.
Huh.
Did you hear, have you been listening to Zeitgeist regularly?
oh yeah.
Did you hear the theory about Luke being Lucas and the whole, it works so well.
No, what episode was that?
I don't know because it's one of the times he throws to, Jack just goes, our writer J.M. McNabb brought this up. It's really interesting. So I don't even remember who the guest was, but it's that obviously Luke, stupidly short for Lucas. And Lucas has said that the first one was like, it's about a guy not wanting to follow in the footsteps of his father. And it's really an autobiography because my dad wanted me to run the family furniture warehouse or something stupid.
Okay.
And didn't believe in me being a filmmaker. Then by The Last Jedi.
I wonder if old Mr. Lucas has changed his mind on that, or if he's still like, I don't really buy you as a filmmaker.
Well,
I liked what Abrams did.
Yeah. But everything works so well. And it's J.M. McNabb's theory, but it's like, it's the reason new villains are called the First Order is because in the Disney new canon, the villain is the prequels. They almost ruined Star Wars, so the First Order is the villain. And by the end, we need The Last Jedi because we need Lucas to go away. He gifted us this great thing, but he needs to take his hands off it because he's not good at it. And that's why the new characters keep saying everything has to die, everything has to die. And the last act, which was paced very unnecessarily, like just tacked on, is George Lucas coming back and being like, I'll save the day one last time and then willingly fade away. And then the final shot of The Last Jedi is a kid playing with a Star Wars action figure, which I guess is, in the theory is a nod to like, that's what he gave us. This legacy of Star Wars greatness.
Any theory can be convincing.
Sure.
I feel like there's nowhere near, I haven't gotten any kind of sense that amount of thought has been put into this new trilogy whatsoever. There's too many cooks in it, and
that's what it is. Rian Johnson's very thoughtful.
Yeah,
but 80 other people also contributed. That's the problem.
Right, and it seems like he took a movie like J.J. Abrams was making the original Star Wars trilogy again, and Rian Johnson was just like, I don't really care for Snoke. I don't really care for this Rey's parentage thing, so I'm just gonna like drop that. And I'm so worried that the next movie will come out and the opening crawl, because Abrams is doing it again. It was like, Snoke survived, and his first words were, "It is a big deal who Rey's parents are." So so everything's and Phasma's back. I had plans for her.
It has occurred to me that could easily be a false negative, like that. All it is an anti-twist for the twist in the next one where Rey's parent is Luke after all. Like, they could take that back so easily. Yeah. Because Kylo, it's like, well, the evil guy said it. It's not, like, reliable. Well, it sounds to me like we should have you on Frame Rate, but...
Yeah.
Or just talk in person and go see movies.
Yeah, we could do that.
But if you want, we're going to do Black Panther opening night and immediately record like we did with Last Jedi. If you want to do that, that'd be fun.
I feel like I'm not going to want to talk about Black Panther immediately after seeing it. Like I've been thinking about this movie for such a long time that I just want to like see it and then live in it for a while. But
regardless, I'm going to put more effort into seeing you, and I hope it's welcome.
I will do. I'll do. This is for someone who has said I am being very thoughtful about what I want to do with my time and talents such as they are. I'll do fucking any podcast, and for anyone listening, I will do your podcast.
Yeah, okay,
there you go. Love doing podcasts.
Isn't it so fun?
It's so fun.
I'm my like attached at the hip dude is Abe,
right?
So he's not going to be happy doing audio only forever. So Small Beans certainly has its sights on video, but man, there's something freeing about it. Is truly zero budget after the equipment, and you just like can do fucking anything from just shooting the shit to a full-on radio play,
right?
Where you're in space and it's still basically zero budget. It's amazing.
I mean, I probably won't do that. I like the very casual, like I'm going to show up and talk about.
No. Like I don't want to do spontaneation. Yeah, that's intimidating.
I do. It's one of the things that I allow myself to not prepare for when I do podcasts, because I feel like I put in the work 10 years of reading, thinking, and consuming things and building an audience. So like I did the work already, and now I'm gonna just show up and talk.
Isn't it funny
you.
how we, who are just old enough to remember before YouTube stars were dominant, we get embarrassed about, I agree, like about Twitch streaming, about podcasting if it's not scripted. It makes me question, or like bad imposter syndrome, where you're like, why would you just listen to me talk words I think of and pay money? You idiots. But I think the just people like 15 years younger than us, that is not a thing in their head.
No.
They're like, no, everyone is content. Everyone is spouting content all the time.
Which is also
because I'm like, yeah. It's just weird to me that I can go to something fully unprepared and it's considered a piece of content that's finished.
Yeah. And I touched on it a little bit when we were talking about models that work right now. Based on that and everything you just said, I'm like fully aware and prepared for the fact that the world might just leave me behind content-wise.
Oh, I thought you were going to say end.
No, I mean, yeah, that would be great. But the world of like surviving on in this industry when it gets increasingly blurred, what is content and what do people actually want out of their content? Like, here's me saying, I don't understand Twitch, and that's why I don't do it, and I don't understand Snapchat, and that's why I don't have it. I played HQ for a while, a trivia app that someone says is the future of content somehow, and everyone agrees. And I was like, okay, I don't agree.
So the future of content is going back to, all right, The Simpsons is on now. You have to watch it now on your phone now.
Right. I mean,
stupid.
No one knows what they mean when they say future of content, almost ever. But
it's funny
they
that it's
do know
always the
that,
past. Like people are saying podcast the future of the content. That's just the radio. It's the past of content. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's they say HQ because like this is... love it or hate it, they got 1 million people who are going to tune in twice a day and stare at this thing for as much time as we want them to do it. And I was like, okay, but to go back to your first thing, hate it. Like, I refuse to just accept that as an opener to your thing. I hate it. I don't think that's what the future should be. But I wonder how many great comedians and writers died alone because they said YouTube. I resent the YouTube model so much that I'm not going to do anything with the internet at all.
Right.
And now they're sad or failed somewhere. Like I'm aware that.
Right. I mean, back
tomorrow,
like Dick Van
everything
Dyke started on whoever's talk show. And it's like Sid Caesar's Show of Shows or something. It's like, that is the show that's on. Do you want to write TV? I hope you like writing this exact show. You may later get to do your own show that represents you as an artist, but there's only 3 channels. This is the show. Like, yeah. I heard there were 500 scripted series produced last year.
That sounds believable.
Right. Yeah. And it's just, as with anything, when you start to see geometric escalation of how many there are, you're like, that can't last. Something will have to change tectonically. Yeah. Also, I've noticed I've fallen off HQ, but right at the end, did you play long enough to notice the hosts start doing product placements? They've started to do that. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. And somehow Google will invent a plugin that can block the product names. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing, man. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
I know that humans need stories, and we've needed them ever since we were cavemen around the fire. I also know there's no way to monetize it.
Right. I feel like for starters,
we need wandering bards again.
For starters, we need to burn Facebook to the ground because Facebook is a terrible company that has cost a lot of people their jobs. But we're going to find something, and I go back and forth with self-debating if I think this is my responsibility. But someone needs to find a new model that works and scratches a lot of the old itches in terms of what it can do for writers, which is my chief concern, and also the content that it serves people. Because the internet as it exists now is Napster 20 years ago. You can shut down Napster, but people learned they could get songs by clicking on a button. Right. So no matter what model you come up with, this is going to happen.
Morpheus Grok, Kazaa.
I downloaded an entire album one afternoon and then burned it onto a CD. So guess what? I'm never going to Nobody Beats the Wiz or Sam Goody ever again.
God, I haven't
and
thought
that's why
about
those
Sam
stores don't
Goody.
exist anymore.
I haven't thought about Sam Goody in a minute.
But
yeah.
Someone figures out a model for how that works, and now the situation that we have is a number of sites created premium content for what seems like free for a decade. The
That's what I
audience,
don't get-
the
yeah.
audience knows that they do that, and even if they get rid of the entire staff at the old place, the entire staff of Funny or Die, or The Onion, or whatever else, like, you know, ESPN's trying to sell 538. Uproxx is losing people.
Right.
Vice is losing people.
Something's got to give. And
Even
right
if they get
now
rid
it's
of all these
attrition.
people,
Yeah.
the audience is still. One day the audience is going to turn around and be like, "Where's all my great free content?" Remember
Right,
when
it's
Will
like-
Ferrell made videos with Paris Hilton?
That were free.
Give me that. I want it
and-
again.
And not free bad. High quality and free.
Yeah.
And to feel that we as a society are entitled to unlimited, free, high quality content will fuck us eventually. I mean,
Yeah.
it will fix itself with some kind of transition, but it
Yeah.
will be a messy transition, whatever happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
And it may very well end up being, ironically, the opposite of the whole intention of doing this, which is, like you said, bundled packaging of very specific, like going back to a draconian cable bundle model through your computer. We're fucked. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
I mean, we're all fucked. Yeah. The other. When I mentioned feeling responsibility for creating this new model, which I'm not too serious about, but I mentioned this on Tumblr too, that because I have incredibly high self-esteem and a high sense of self-worth and a pretty
standards
active sex
for
life,
yourself?
I feel really good about me. And I after the layoffs was not super worried about me, but knowing how many people are left to keep that place going, and like reading the writing on the wall of the internet in general, I feel terrible that there's no opportunity for someone like you and I 10 years ago. Like, one of the proudest things, I'm capable of saying Cracked. I don't know why I say the old place, but it just stuck with me. One of the proudest things about that I always got to point to and be very excited about was that we paid well and allowed anyone in the world to pitch articles, and you would get feedback, and you would work with editors, and they would turn you around and make you a published author who got money, and you could point to it, and you had traffic, and people would read it, and then maybe you'd get a book deal out of it, and maybe
And
you'd
a
get some
handful of
other
those
thing,
people
and-
became full-time employees.
Yeah,
right?
and I don't know if there's any money anymore in creating a platform for creative weirdos to
hire those
learn and
people.
fail. Like, there's not a big writer's workshop out there anymore, really.
But the industry needs that, so like I feel like one will inevitably bubble up in some other form. Right.
Yeah.
It's just impossible to know where or when or how to get in on it.
It just makes me sad for
Yeah.
the youth that 10 years ago we could sneak Abe into the office after hours on the weekend and like, we're gonna film Agents of Cracked, and like, no one's gonna look at the scripts. We're just gonna do it, and
Right.
we're not gonna. We barely have a video component to the site at that time,
Right.
and
Whereas
we, like-
YouTube's like ever since PewDiePie, we vet everything, motherfucker.
And then it was like, we just like took months where we were making these and editing them, and then suddenly, hey, here's fucking 12 episodes of a thing
Yeah.
that are published sporadically. All right, bye. Now we're gonna go, and like, all
I'm
this
glad Bo
stuff.
Burnham squeaked in at the end. YouTube
Yeah.
transitioned to real celebrity because he's
Yeah.
great.
He's really good. But yeah, there's not. No one is taking chances on enthusiastic, creative.
Well,
kids
they
right
are,
now.
but only for free. Right.
Yeah.
Like a lot of creative weirdos who are happy to pitch their podcast to Small Beans, but
Yeah.
we have only but a pittance to pay you. You
Yeah.
mean like, yeah, exactly. Cracked Studios is crazy, which is what we called our highest budget stuff, basically, if you're not aware of the difference between Cracked Video and Cracked Studios. But
They're not.
stuff like Starship Icarus and Welcome Back, Potter, it's actually truly astounding in the current environment that they happened. Yeah, that's true. And not that they happened, but the limited amount of script oversight on them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, of course, places are producing content, but Welcome Back, Potter really was whatever the fuck I wanted. The only compromise I had to make was to make it related to Harry Potter. At first
Right.
it was called Asshole Wizards, but that's not really a big change.
But even with studios, by then we'd already proven that we could make stuff that people liked. I'm talking
Right.
about Ground Floor.
Three
we don't
Dead
really know what
Friends.
we're doing. Three Dead Friends, Agents of Cracked, all of the early
Right.
sketches that we were doing, and like all of the weird columns that you and I did for years. That was just like, I'm 21 and I'm
Right.
gonna just I have a place where I can creatively experiment and learn stuff and find my voice and work with very patient editors. There's not that for the kids anymore.
Right.
And
there's
it
only a
breaks my little
blog,
heart.
and there's no guarantee you'll attract any more than a dozen people. Whereas Cracked was like, yeah, your weird blog post that's funny will be on the front page.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me more sad about Cracked than I was. Now I'm mad at you afresh. All I can say is all those people still exist. That's all I keep thinking to myself. All
Right.
those people exist and are just as talented. So, like, I'm sure some people, maybe us included, are going to catch bad breaks and get shaken out of the business, but a bunch of them will find a home.
Yeah. We're also, one of the most healing things that has happened for me. You said we have 3 hours. I don't know how
We do.
Okay, good.
It's already the longest Small Beans podcast
good.
episode ever, but there's no hard out.
It's just a thing I wanted to share because I've been thinking about it, that the way that timing works out.
Mm-hmm.
There's this guy, Tim Minchin, right?
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite artists I will
Yeah.
ever see
Nice.
in the world. And I randomly saw that he was doing a show in LA called Leaving LA. So I just went by myself to a show on November 30th at the Wiltern, and it was a very different show from what he usually does, but was also one of the most moving shows that I'd ever seen. He was just did music stuff and would sometimes talk, and wasn't dressed like he normally dresses. He was just in a black t-shirt and jeans. It was I'm gonna just play some songs that I like. And he's moving away from LA, so he played the song Leaving LA that really moved me. And at the end of the show, for his encore, did some cover of some song I've since lost to time, and turned out all of the lights everywhere in the entire building and just played the song. And I was like, this has been such a good night, and I'm so happy. And then 5 days after that, I got laid off. And earlier this week, saw an interview with Tim Minchin about that tour that he did. And it's because 4 years ago, he moved to Los Angeles to write and direct a DreamWorks movie.
Okay.
And
Do you know which one?
Larrikins. It was with Hugh Jackman. And
Oh, no.
it was an animated thing. Yeah. And he'd been working on it. 4 years, he'd moved his entire family here. And then because of some weird corporate merger thing, they just canceled the project. And he was devastated, and his immediate reaction to that was to create this music and put on this show. And then he created this music and put on the show. And then left,
hence
went
the
back
finale
to
show.
went back to
Yeah.
And then he went back to Australia, and I am nowhere near anywhere close to him in terms of ability, but this is a guy that to me is very established, who went through emotionally a very similar thing to what we went through. You were making a thing, then forces of the industry stop you from doing it,
And there's no promise you have a new job.
and he was
Yeah.
grieving, and he talked about grieving for a while and not being able to make things, and then suddenly he made this great
So
night
it
of
wasn't
music.
instantly. He
No.
needed a week
Yeah,
off. Or
he
something.
needed some time, and it's I think it's always very helpful to hear people you respect going through a thing that
Totally.
you've ever gone through.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everyone check that
Speaking
article
of,
out.
do you want to go to
Remember
the
where it
Normal
is.
Owl tour together?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would
Jen
love
won't
to.
go with me. I want to go with someone.
When is it?
Far in the future.
Yeah.
I'll email you. Good.
I think that
tickets are not expensive.
I think Sean Baby, Alex, and Cody did a podcast where they accidentally predicted that, because they were just talking about how hard it is to make comedy in the Trump era, and how Weird Al is it's going to just destroy comedy and satire, and Weird Al's going to become Normal Al. And then literally
Wow.
a week later, he was like, I'm just doing some originals,
Yeah,
guys.
if you don't know,
no costumes.
Weird Al's doing a tour with no lights, clips, or costumes. That is just his
Just
original music.
music with his band
It's
that he likes
called
playing.
Normal Al. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, light work, man. Well, we're now just chatting, which
Yeah.
is fine. But the best concert I ever went to was a Costello show where he did the song I Want You, which, if you don't know, ends with just repeating I Want You over and over and over as this really sultry guitar line dies out for a minute and a half. And it killed all the lights in the building, had a spotlight that slowly diminished until it was just his face. And your eyes were burned from the light, so you could just see little ugly Elvis Costello face. It was so good.
What are you watching these days?
Oh boy, The Office.
Okay.
That's like the comfort food for Jen and I when we're just kicking it at home. But personally, I'm watching The American Gods first season again because I loved it. Did you ever see it?
No.
It's really dynamite. You like gaming, right?
Yeah.
It's a great adaptation of American Gods. It's visually amazing. All the acting's great. It's really, really fun.
Nice.
Crispin Glover has never been creepier, and I'm saying that about Crispin Glover. He steals the show.
You up on The Good Place yet?
No, and I know I need to. I
should.
got all the twists spoiled for me.
I did too. And like,
Does that hurt it much?
no.
Okay.
I think because every single episode ends with a twist. Every episode is a cliffhanger.
Oh, I didn't know that. That
yeah.
makes it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
And
So it's
just-
continuous?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was sitcom-y. I thought it was, recursive. Okay.
No.
Interesting. Okay, I will get into it.
Yeah.
Because I've been looking for something new. We just finished Breaking Bad again, and we're about to finish The Office again. I'm like, I need some fresh blood.
I've been mostly watching. I watched all the Oscar movies because watching movies in theaters
Yeah.
is my favorite thing to do, and I've had a lot of extra time.
We saw the
lately.
last Maze Runner movie.
I was close to seeing that because I
Giancarlo
went to-
Esposito, man.
I went to a theater a few nights ago and I was like, one for the 10:15. Call me by your name, please. And like, we don't have that one. And then I realized, I Googled the wrong theater. What's playing here at 10:15? Okay, I'll see through.
What's similar to that in tone? Maze Runner.
Well, it was either see Maze Runner at 10:45 or see Three Billboards again at 10:15. So I was like, I'll just fucking see this movie again.
Yeah, you liked it? Okay. It's very divisive.
I
A
did,
bunch
but
of people
I
hate it, and
agree
I
with-
love it.
I agree with everything that everyone said who didn't like it. I
Interesting.
understand all of the points that they made.
The
and it
only one I
reminded me-
disagree with is I've heard people who say, like, it was just a bunch of random nonsense and I didn't get anything from it. That's what I'm like. That I can't hide.
I think it's a
That means you weren't trying hard enough.
I think it's a very clear story, not as clear message, but I think by design, it's a very competent and intentioned movie by a person with a couple of blind spots.
For sure. But it's about moral gray areas. So that, yeah. That's all.
I didn't. The second time, I didn't realize that the only two black characters in the movie do end up as a couple at the end. That's something that I didn't realize the first time around. That the first black guy you see is the guy who's hanging up the billboard, and he knows who Dixon is, and is like mad at Dixon because Dixon is famous for being a racist.
He
And
adds up
then-
a couple. Yeah.
Right, and then Frances McDormand's business partner,
Friend who works at the Tchotchke
shop
shop,
person,
yeah.
gets used as a pawn. She gets arrested for weed because Martin McDonough
It's just harassing her
understands
friends.
nuance.
Yeah.
And then she just gets out of jail and is like, hey, I'm back. Frances McDormand, you hanging billboards again? And then she sees the guy from the beginning who is re-hanging billboards, and they just like share a look. And the next time you see them, they're on a date in the bar where Dixon gets beat up.
Freeman's in the movie, though. As the
yeah.
police chief, yeah.
The third black
He's
character
great.
in the movie.
He's the third man. Who's this racist piece of shit?
Yeah.
You're fired. Get the fuck out of my police station. Did enjoy that part. Well, I like Martin McDonough a lot, so I might be an
I do
apologist.
too.
Yeah. I will say we just covered Magnolia for Frame Rate,
Magnolia.
which is Abe's favorite movie, and I didn't get it. And I'd only seen it once. This time I got it.
Okay.
And I'm like, I see why. It
Did
could
you
be.
see-
It's fair. It's a fair pick. For
I
the
love
best
Magnolia,
movie. It
yeah.
is phenomenal.
Do you see Phantom Thread?
No, not yet.
I really hated it.
Okay.
It's clear that Paul Thomas Anderson is great. It's clear that Daniel Day-Lewis is great. I wanted to scream in the middle of the movie because why are we making another movie about a complicated, angry
imitation
male
game, right? Yeah.
guy? Why are we making a movie about the fashion industry about this fucking straight white male genius?
And how he's
What are we
unhappy
doing here?
anyway.
Yeah.
It's House or Imitation Game or Sherlock. It's everything.
It's
Speaking of which, I want to rewatch Sopranos. Another one of those.
Oh,
He's just schlubby instead.
love that show.
I do
think that show's
too.
great.
Jen's never seen it, so that's what
That's good.
after Office wraps up, we'll hop onto that. Yeah, man. Scraping the bottom of the barrel. I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right.
Sammy?
Sammy,
you have
anything from our history that you want to comment on? Emotional issues you want to
Yeah.
bring to the table?
I do want to. This is we've never met, and you just watched two people
Work
like
something
like
out?
like work an emotional
I
and
guess.
business thing out. As how Would you listen to this?
I just did.
Okay.
There you go. That's your answer. You heard it here first. This is worth listening to if you already did because it's your job and you had to. We'll see you next time when we have another friendship-shattering fight.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The Beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you.